to the Texas Quilt Museum. Is this the first time for anyone? I know Carolyn and Karen, this is y'all's first time. Let's see, welcome. We're so glad to have you with us. I know we've got some shoppers still doing their thing out in the Quilt Museum store. We'll give them a second to come on in. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. Joanne, are you hot?
Always.
Okay.
Well, that's me. Everybody else may not be hot.
If you're cold, we've got wraps and blankets. We can all, we can figure it out. Well, welcome. We're so glad. I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Deborah Bradley. I am the director here at the Texas Quilt Museum. The museum itself is housed in a building that was constructed in 1893. Everything used in the construction of the building was taken from LaGrange or Fayette County, where we're seated. If you haven't had a chance to explore this beautiful museum, the building itself is just a landmark here in our wonderful town. So galleries 1 and 2 were once a mercantile, and that was Mr. Reichert's mercantile. And you're sitting in what was Mr. Knipe's hardware store. So our gallery 3 was a hardware store, and galleries 1 and 2 were everything that was used, as I said, everything that was used in the construction of the buildings was taken from LaGrange or Fayette County. I'd love to go into further detail about the construction, but I'm way too excited to listen to Teresa talk about her wonderful quilts. I'm just going to touch base really quick with you on a couple of things that we have coming up. Aside from our wonderful gallery talk today with Teresa, we have art camps going on all summer. So by the end of the summer, we will have graduated over 104 kids in our art camps. We're doing quilting, English paper piecing, knitting, embroidery, needle felting, and I'm sure I'm missing one, but quilting is the one that has just been our love, our passion. It started with 6 kids 3 years ago, and by the end of this summer we'll have almost 30 that we're just graduating this summer, and this is our 3rd year doing this. So we're super excited to be ushering in a new legacy of quilters and fiber artists for our future. We also have a couple other gallery talks happening this summer. July 18th, which is a Saturday, we'll have Nola Heidbreder and Linda Peets coming to talk to us. They're going to do a gallery talk and demonstration on the hooked rug presidential portraits that are in Gallery 2. They call themselves hookers, and I think it's really cute. Especially since they're just lovely ladies, and they're sisters. So Linda did the research and the design, and her sister Nola did the hooking. So if you have the opportunity to come back and see us in July, yes?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, that's right. And that one will begin at 3, and free admission begins at 2. That's Saturday, July 18th. And then on Saturday, August 29th, we have the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo Quilt Committee coming to talk about details in entering the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and as well as just wonderful details about the story and the history of the quilts and the rodeo. That's on Saturday, August 29th. Free admission begins at 2, and then the talk is at 3. And then on Saturday, September 5th, we have Cecilia Reed coming. She's going to do the history of feed sacks. So if you're interested in that, join us same time, same bat channel, same at 3 o'clock on Saturday, the 5th of September. And I could go on and on. In fact, we've got some book signings coming up with Teresa this fall during our festival week. Teresa's going to come back and talk to us about her new book, Old Quilts Made New, and also do a book signing. That'll be on Wednesday, the 11th of November at noon. And then if you can't make it to that because you're in Houston, come see us on that Saturday the 13th, because Teresa will be at our booth in Houston at festival. So am I missing anything? I'm so excited. We just worked this out about 10 minutes ago. So without further ado, I would love to have you help me welcome Teresa Doria Wong. Thank you so much.
Thanks Thanks, y'all. It's great to be here today. I'm really happy to share some of this work with you, and I appreciate all of you taking time out of your weekend to come here. So I am a historian and researcher and also a quilt maker, and I've written now a whole slew of books. And as I was working on these quilts, I got inspired to write a book also about this process and about these particular quilts. So these are all antique quilt tops that I purchased. Some were given to me and some I purchased. And I started with just one, and right early in the pandemic, and I thought, well, you know, I have this fabulous long arm quilting machine, which I'm sure most of you know. It's just a large sewing machine that's mounted on a 12-foot frame, so the machine moves back and forth across the fabric. So it's a really cool way to make quilts. And I thought, well, I have this fabulous machine and I love making quilts, but when I make my own quilts, you know, it might take a week or a month or a year or, you know, sometimes even longer to make a quilt top. And I thought in between I could just have some fun. And that just started me down this whole path. So all of them are, it's very old. It's hard to tell the dates exactly because they come to us with no story, no data, but we can look at the fabrics and get an idea of how old some of them are. But I want to step back first and even talk about this idea of taking an old quilt top and finishing it on a modern machine. Some people might be inspired by this and some people are horrified. So, you know, there's a debate about you're definitely changing it, right? You're taking something very old and you are altering it in that way, so it's never going to be the same. But I have a theory. In that closets all around the world, there are old antique quilt tops sitting there on the floor in that closet, and someday somebody's going to come and clean out that closet, and they're going to pick up this thing and say, what is this? What am I going to do with it? It's fragile. You can't use it, meaning a quilt top, because it fall apart. It's going to be thrown out, right? So I feel like by putting them on a machine and finishing them, they have a much better chance of survival. So, and then not only that, you have something beautiful that can be used or given away or hung on the wall or put on the bed. So in my book, finished is better than not. And about the idea of putting them on a machine, also, same deal. Some people might find that really inspiring, and some people find it maybe horrifying, because these tops are all handmade, so hand pieced together. And so, especially if there's quilters here, quilters feel this burden that because the top is handmade, then I must hand quilt it to finish it, right? Otherwise, I'm sort of disrespecting this old, very old object. So we just have this burden that it has to be hand quilted. So guess what happens? That top just sits there because nobody's gonna have the time to hand quilt it. So it sits and it sits, and another decade goes by and another decade goes by. So I hope this will inspire you, if you have old quilt tops, to get them out and finish them on a machine. And it could be a sit-down machine or a long arm machine or whatever machine that you like to use. Because I do think you are altering them, but you're also sort of bringing them into the new century. And I feel like when I'm working on these old tops that I'm kind of having a conversation with the maker who went before me. So I like to think about the patchwork, and I look at the fabrics and think about their era in which they were made, and I like to think about who could have made these and why didn't they finish them. You know, there's so many different scenarios that could have happened. Maybe the person left or moved, or you know, passed away, or got bored, or, there's just a million reasons of why people never finished them. But I think it's really, to me, it's a really beautiful act to sort of put this modern spin on them and actually see them finished. So also as a quilt researcher, I'm always inspired by quilt stories, and it's lovely when we have provenance for a quilt and we know the quilt story. And as quilt researchers, we're always looking for those quilts that we know the story of, or we know the maker, or we know the time in which it was made, or the place in which it was made, or if a group of people worked on it. For these tops, we have nothing, right? We have no story. And so as I was working on them, I made up stories. Because every quilt deserves a story. So I thought it would be fun to think about my family and my ancestors and name them after people in my family. So as I was quilting them, not only am I thinking about the maker, but I'm also thinking about the person that I'm naming it after. So this one right here with the schoolhouses, this is a quilt that I bought at Festival at an antique booth. A lot of these are from antique quilt dealers, but also a lot of them I found on eBay from antique quilt dealers on eBay. There's some really great reputable dealers on eBay. A couple of them are from garage sales. I personally hate garage sales, but my best friend loves them. And so she goes and brings me all these tops and gives them to me. She paid $5 for them or something. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of where I got them. A couple of these I got from antique dealers at Round Top. It's like, oh, I love to go out there a lot. But this one is, it's, pretty old. The dealer wasn't really sure. It was originally 5 colors. So the gold, the green, the brown, the red, and this was blue. So, and we know that because there's little patches left of the blue. So it's really faded. And the fading and all of it sort of gives it a really modern look. It's almost like a minimalist work of art because of all the fading and all the colors. So my first idea was to do something very minimalist with the quilting. So I didn't really detract from this very graphic, modern style. And then I just went the opposite. So I decided to do this really maximalist, go all out. And I just sketched out some little kid drawings, etch-a-sketch on paper, and then everything was just created on the fly. So with your long arm, you can just keep going and going and going. And so I started on one side and just went all the way across without stopping. So everything was just kind of inspired as I was going. And I just thought it turned out really fun, probably one of my favorites. And so again, I decided to name it after a teacher who was important in my life, and so I named it after my first grade teacher, Mrs. Wilson. So I'm thinking of her as I'm quilting this and having a whole lot of fun doing that. And I think it's really different. When I look for the antique quilt tops, I'm also looking for something that has space or something I can add, right? Otherwise, it's just, if it's really dense patchwork, there's not a lot of room for me to add. So I'm kind of looking for open space, like a blank canvas area so that I can bring something new to the quilt as well. And this one was perfect for that because it had so much empty space in it. So this one is most likely made in the Amish community, and it's a really beautiful, really thin fabric. It was both machine pieced and hand pieced. Some of them do have some machine piecing, by and far they're mostly hand pieced. And then sometimes people say, oh, if it's machine pieced, it must be new. But if you remember, so the sewing machines came into our homes in the 1850s. And by the end of 1900, they were very, very, very popular. So we still could have something over a century old that is machine pieced. And with this one, I just really wanted to not detract from this beautiful design. design. So that's something that I feel like I really try to bring to the quilts. I don't do a lot of what's called like edge to edge quilting, where there's just sort of one pattern that goes over the patchwork. I try to find something special about that patchwork and quilt something that is meaningful to that patch. And so for this, I used a matching thread and just really stayed with the colors in the way that they are. And I think it's just really, it's so beautiful and so modern, it could have been made yesterday. You know, it just has this really bold graphic quality to it. This one I named after my horse. So I started riding horses in 2nd grade, and I got a horse in 7th grade, and he was very dark black horse. His name was Smokey, so I named this after him because I loved him, and we spent a lot of time together in my preteen and teenage years. So this one got named after Smokey. And it's really beautiful. I know, Deborah, I don't know if it's okay, but I'm going to touch the back here. So the backings are really fun. This is white, so you can see the red and black. Almost makes a whole new design on the back, which is also fun. This is one that I got on eBay, and as I was flipping through all the photos of it, I just love that little patch right there, and so I bought it, because why not? And I thought it was just so different from all the other patches, and it just spoke to me. I believe it's a doll, could be a girl's face, not really sure, probably a doll, but I just thought it was darling, and so I bought it. And this one is an example. So each patch has a different quilting motif to it. Again, just trying to stay within the quilt, within the patchwork, not covering it up with an overall design, and really keeping each one. And I mostly match the thread, you know, unless you're really trying to make the quilting stand out. I almost always try to kind of choose a thread that stays with it. About materials, I will say that all of them are quilted with either 100% cotton or silk. I never ever use polyester threads, and all of my batting is 100% cotton or 100% wool. Never use any polyester batting either. And I'll tell you why. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Texas cotton, but Texas grows 50% of America's cotton crop, and I've written a book about American cotton and also have studied a lot of Japanese cotton, and America's cotton is the finest cotton in the world, by far the highest quality cotton in the world. India and China are the bigger producers, but our cotton is quality cotton. And there's two companies, Hobbs and the Warm Company. Both are big batting manufacturers, and they use American cotton, 100% American cotton in their batting and in the threads as well. So I'm like, I want the best for my quilts. I only want natural fibers. All of these quilts are made with cotton or linen. I have some that have wool, and then this is all pre-polyester, so all of these are natural fibers, so I'm just trying to honor that with either natural cotton and silk. Silk is a beautiful thread for antique quilts because it glides so easily, and you can add texture without really detracting from the quilt because it's so soft. So I use a lot of silk as well.
So this one,
Mm-hmm.
the missing
Yeah.
dragons, was that a conscious choice on your part to not replace those?
Correct.
The top was missing?
Yeah. The top it just came that way, and I'm fine with it.
It makes you go.
Yeah, why? What happened? Did they run out? Or did they just get bored? Or did someone cut it off and use it for something? You know, I've heard all kinds of stories of people rescuing quilts and, you know, out of trunks of cars and, you know, wrapped around all kinds of junk and like, you know, so who knows? Maybe it was spoiled and somebody just cut it off. I don't know. But yeah, I haven't added any fabric to the tops. All of the backings, of course, are modern backings. And also, I tried to find quilts that don't need a lot of repair, because I don't want to spend my time repairing, because it opens up like a rabbit's nest. Like once you start repairing this patch, then you got to repair that one and that one and that one. So I do try to look for ones that are in good condition, and hopefully smell okay, because I don't wash them. So when you're in person at a dealer, of course you can smell them and make sure they're fine. But when you're on eBay, it's kind of like, so you got to stick with quilt dealers that are reputable, really, rather than just buying from an individual, because you just don't know what you're going to get. And on that topic, I don't wash them. So I never ever wash them. Washing a top is very problematic because it could fall apart. It's so old. You can wash them after they're finished because it's very secure now. It's not going to fall apart now, but it's still risky to me, and so it's just something I prefer not to do. So this one is very traditional pattern called the Grandmother's Flower Garden, and I just loved the yellow in between. I thought it was kind of a bold choice, and it was in excellent condition. And again, the sides are, as they are. I didn't finish them or cut them or add anything to them. And so I named this one after my paternal great-grandmother, Pearl. And I just love it. I just think it's such a classic design. The one next to it is an ocean waves pattern. And I came here to the museum about 2 or 3 weeks ago with some really good friends of mine who are also quilt scholars. One is Kathy Moore, maybe y'all know her. She's very active in AQSG. And she believes that one is a Mennonite quilt and probably made for a child's bed. And that was new information to me, but she said this combination of the cheddar, which is that orangey yellow, and the darker grays, that just led her to believe that it probably was. So this one, I just loved it. It did need a little repair. Some of the clear sort of natural colored centers are muslin, and everything else is cotton. And that happens on a lot of these, that you'll find a lot of these have muslin in them. I hate it. And people used muslin up until the 1980s even, because it was so much cheaper. But if you look at something that's 100 years old, then the muslin and the cotton are going to deteriorate at different rates, right? So the muslin is thin, stretchy, and the cotton maybe didn't stretch. So this one didn't lay flat. So I did take the muslin apart and just re-sew them so the muslin would lay flat on a lot of these. And then I decided to quilt it in this grid that's a 1/4 inch grid. So grids are not new. People have been quilting grids for 200 years, but mostly historically they're a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch grid. And we see that a lot on antique quilts. But with the modern quilt movement, we started going to these 1/4 inch grids, and we see this all the time now on modern quilts. And so I love that idea of bringing something so modern to this one. So it's all quilted in an orange thread at a 1/4 inch on my long arm. And when you step away from it, the grid just goes away, and you can just see the beauty of the quilt. So I did love that, sort of bringing that very, very modern idea of this very thin grid. And so it's all just straight lines. On the long arm, you do it all one way and make the 1/4 inch, and then you take it off the frame and flip it 90 degrees, and then do your other lines the other way. So that one was really fun. I'm going to stay on time here. This one on the center over here, that's the pink with the big white border around it. That one is a pattern from Mountain Mist. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Mountain Mist. Mountain Mist was a batting company. They made batting, and starting in the early 1900s. And then on the inside of the batting, they would print patterns patterns for people, and so it made a very popular choice to buy their batting, because then you get a quilt pattern for free. So they're very famous. They made hundreds and hundreds of patterns. And there's people who are real experts on mountain mist patterns, and one of them is Linda Pumphrey, and I'm on the board with her at the International Quilt Museum, and she saw this quilt and she goes, "That's mountain mist number 30 something." So I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool." So then I went and looked it up. So this one appealed to me because, again, this natural colored fabric that you see is muslin, and I saw this as sort of a wide open canvas for me to add something. So all of the quilting that you see in here is sort of my own design, really trying to add something. I probably should have said at the beginning, but I never use a computer, so a lot of long arms have a computer on them, and the computers do the quilting, or they'll generate designs. I don't have a computer on my machine, so everything is hand-guided, free motion that I'm doing. So anyway, all of those, the muslin borders are all free motion. So I just have to share. So this is one of those quilts that I loved, and then I hated, and then I got mad at, and then I loved it again, and I started it, and I took it off, and I put it back on, because I couldn't get it to lay flat. And so sometimes as quilters we think we'll get it on the machine and we'll make it lay flat as we go, right? That never works. So you will see, this is a testament to just keep going. I made a tuck in this quilt right there, all the way across it, because it wouldn't lay flat. I did all the things that you're supposed to do, and I cussed at it a lot, and that didn't even help. But I just made like this little tuck because I couldn't get it to lay flat, and now you can't even see it. It wasn't square before, but that's why you see this really shortened edge here on the side. And I just feel like it's just like, it just reminds me, just keep going, you know, because now I just love it. And sometimes I even have to look and find the tuck that I made in it. But you know, these, again, you have muslin and cotton, and they're just gonna shift at different rates, and you have all these, you know, there's a lot of patchwork in there, and you know, it just wouldn't lay flat. So it is what it is, and I loved it. And I'll just say something about the one right behind it, and that is, it has all these stuffed berries on it. It's probably one of the oldest that I have, and it's from a reputable dealer that I really trust, and she dated it, you know, like 1850s. And the stuffed berries were on there. So when I was quilting that one, I was really worried about the berries, because if you understand how a long arm works, it's this big frame, and as you're quilting, you're rolling the quilt up on a frame. And I worried that those berries would smush. So I did 2 12-hour days and quilted that in 2 days because I wanted to get it off the frame, because I just worried all night long about those berries getting smushed. So I didn't want it to be on the long arm for like weeks or anything, because I just wanted to get it off. And again, lots of open space for me to add something, which is what I found really attractive with that one there. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I'm sure you probably have a million questions.
Did you say you quilted each one of the triangles separately?
Yes. Each one has its own little motif. And the same with the hexagons, and the same with the patchwork. And the one I was just talking about where I did the tuck, I have a different motif in each one. To me, that's like what is like part of honoring the patchwork, right? Like looking at it and studying it, and what does this patch say to me, and how should I treat it? Rather than just like an overall kind of design. So I really like tried to focus in on, and using a matching thread that complements it, and unless there's, you know, a reason to bring it out.
So how long would that be?
How long what?
Would it take her to quilt that one? Take you to quilt that one? I I'm looking at lots of triangles.
Yeah. It takes a while.
So is the name of this one COVID?
Oh, it's COVID. That one has a cuss word name. No, I'm just kidding. I named that one, so I originally, it is a mountain mist pattern, but it's also kind of a variation of this quilt top known as the Trip Around the World. Yeah. So I originally made me think of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and who, when they retired, they used to travel everywhere, and so I named it after my grandmother Marie, who traveled all over.
Can you talk about the one with the tree?
Yes, yeah. So that one is the most recent one that I've finished. I finished it like a couple days before we hung the show, so I brought it out and I thought, could we hang it up? And it's a garage sale find that my friend gave to me, and she had it sitting in her closet for 20 years, probably, maybe more. And to me, it was, it's a sweet little quilt, but it was so boring, right? It's just very plain, this sort of patchwork, checkerboard, 9-patch, whatever you want to call it. So I just envisioned it as like a blank canvas, and I always wanted to do kind of like a tree of life idea. And so it's just all freehand, and I just decided to transform it and make it something else. And it has, I also quilted the white and blue, in the patchwork in the background there. So I just had a lot of fun. The pink and white is also a drunkard's path. This block right here that you see is called a drunkard's path, and the pink and white one is also a drunkard's path block. And then you can reshape them into something like this or a pattern like that one. That one was also given to me by my friend, and it sat in her closet for 20-some years before she gave it to me. And she bought it at a garage sale for like $5 somewhere. So I just love it.
The one next to it, I remember seeing at Houston during the
Yes.
exhibit there.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, thank
I love
you.
that random peach in the corner, upper right
Oh.
corner.
Oh, the one at the very end.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's how this exhibit came to be. So I showed these at Festival 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I had 11 of them, different ones, at Festival. And then Carrie, Nancy, the founders, saw it and they said, oh, we love those. So we plan to bring them here too. So that one at the very, very back at the end, you can look at it later, you don't have to go turn around, but it's a block called a spider web, and I love it because it's so wonky and none of the points line up, which that just makes me happy. I just feel like whoever made that was having fun and not stressing, right? And it looks like there's the center was made, and then there were 2 rows on either side added later as a guess. And because you can see variations in the burgundy colors, and it's got ticking in the centers of the block. And if you know what ticking is, originally used for like mattresses. So it's like you would notice that it's sort of blue striped fabric over something very tough. So it's also used in like railroad conductors' uniforms and things like that. So there's actual ticking in there, and then there's like printed, like commercial fabric that's made to look like ticking. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like she probably ran out, but went and found some more. And then there's just that one little patch up there that is like a peach color instead of the natural. And I love that one. So that one, I have these really strong memories of growing up. I grew up here in Houston. I live in Houston, born and raised. And my Aunt Neola also, and her husband Bill. And when I was a little kid, we used to go to Neola's house all the time, my parents, and they would all play bridge and party. And I always just remember her house being so clean. And so this is named Spiderweb, so I named it Neola and No Spiderwebs. Yeah, I guess.
The ones in this room, which one did you enjoy doing the most? What's your favorite?
Gosh, I love them all. I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. I love this one. I loved doing the tree too, and now I'm starting to think about, looking for quilts that are more like a blank canvas that I can turn into something else rather than just, honoring the patchwork, but transforming them in some way. So that was kind of fun. I don't know. The sailboat one in the back was really fun too. That one has more of what we would call like an art quilting technique in it, where I use thread painting. So the thread painting is where basically you're creating a design with thread. And it's hard to do because you're creating something with one single line of thread. So you have to go over and over and over and over and over it. But that one I love doing that, sort of, transforming that one as well. Any other questions?
Keep going.
Keep going. This one here is made of feed sacks, and I think someone's coming, Deborah, you said next month or so to talk about feed sacks. So in the quilt world, we call them feed sacks, but they're really dry goods sacks. The cotton material used to hold all kinds of dry goods. Before plastic, it was in a sack of some kind. So everything, coffee, flour, sugar, salt, as well as feed for livestock, chickens, animals, would all come in cotton sacks. And over time, the manufacturers wised up and started printing patterns on them, and they became coveted. Like, women would come into the dry goods store, and there'd be a sack of flour, and I want that one, because it has a print on it that they needed. So now there's lots of researchers who do nothing but study feed sacks and understand. And so the printed feed sacks started. Feed sacks have been around for a long time, but the real printing started in the 1930s. So we can kind of date them by that time frame. And there's a lot of books out there that have all of the prints in them, and you can go look at them and find out from what sack it came from. So we know when we look at that it's very feed sack oriented. But I've never seen one with this beautiful, blue, aqua, teal in it, which I thought really kind of helped set that one off. And so I really loved that one. And which one did I not talk about? Let's see. There's the broken star in the back. And it's really interesting when you look at that one and next to all these others, how much it's faded, because I'm sure it was originally white or more of a natural color, and you see it now and it's really dingy, kind of. The fabric has really faded a lot. And it has this bubblegum pink border on it. And that border, that bubblegum pink fabric was really popular starting around 1920. So that's another thing we can look for. But of course, you could buy the same pink fabric today. So it doesn't necessarily isolate it. But I thought it didn't really even match. I almost thought about cutting it off. I think it was added later. Maybe the quilt wasn't big enough or something, but I just left it because I thought it's part of its charm. So I left that one on there. And this one, that one I bought at an antique dealer, and it had the pencil design for the quilting was drawn in pencil on the quilt. And it had been there forever, 80 or 100 years or whatever, so it was not coming off. So it had these sort of feather designs, and I'm not a feathery quilter. I don't really like to quilt feathers. So I covered the printed lines in embroidery first on the machine, like free hand motion guided embroidery on my machine. I covered the pencil markings and then quilted over it. So it's kind of a way of honoring the designs. It was very common. You'll find a lot of antique quilts with pencil marks on them, and they're still there. And especially if the quilted line didn't go over the pencil, there was not a lot of ways to mark quilts back then. So it's unfortunate, but it's kind of an interesting sort of technique that we don't use anymore. And we have all kinds of fancy tools now to mark things that disappear and all of those things. But that one was already marked in pencil. I named that one after my grandfather, and I think it could have definitely been made in his time as well. And then the burgundy one over there next to the tree is I named after my paternal grandfather. That star was my mom's dad. And that one I named after my grandfather. And that one I'm sure is 1860s, maybe 1870. And I had help from Julie Silber, I don't know if any of you know her, but she's a really famous sort of antique quilt dealer. And I showed it to her and she helped me date some of the fabrics. And interestingly, the centers of this weird 6-pointed star are silk. And they have a very Asian look to me, like they could have been, brought back from China or Japan, and it would have fit the real, going into the 1860s, 70s, 80s. It was a real sort of Japan craze, especially in England. So it maybe would have fit that time, or it could have been printed here, but with an Asian motif on it. So I just think it's really interesting. But it's very, very old. And that burgundy has held up incredibly well in there. A lot of the fabrics in the star are what we call shirting. So these would have been scraps from men's shirts. So that's kind of how also we can tell the date of it. And quilters call them shirting fabrics. So you can look at that and go, I'm sure I saw my grandfather wearing that shirt.
With the one behind you have some shirting.
Definitely shirting in here. And yeah, I like it because it gives it a whole different vibe, right? It looks more, less flowers and more graphic prints and things like that. And the backs of them are really fun. Yes?
Down in the bottom, third row up, there's, from where I'm sitting, it looks like a little bud.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just like a little square with flowers around it. Yeah. This one has a really beautiful backing. So this is what we call a wide backing. It's a Kay Facet print, and y'all know Kay Facet is a famous fabric designer. And I thought it just really fit this quilt. And it's awesome to take so a wide backing is 108 inches wide, and then you just buy it in whatever length that you need. So it's very satisfying for me to take a wide backing and load it, because you don't have to piece it together. And it looks cool because there's no seams or anything on it. So a lot of these have a wide backing. This one is pink. This is a Kona cotton. And this one, almost like another quilt on the side, on the back. Yeah, because you can really see all the quilting. So this is another wide backing.
So you're doing your quilting design from the front, and you end up with a nice...
Yes, because I change the bobbin thread to match every time. So every time I would change, every time I change the thread here, I change the thread on the bobbin. You don't have to do that. You can just,
You're too far away.
Too far away. Okay. You can just use one color in the bobbin thread, which a lot of people do, but on that one I changed. It just depends on what kind of look you're going for. It's twice as much work to change the top thread and the bobbin thread every patchwork, but it makes a cool backing. And this one is a really fun backing. It's another Kay Facet one. Sort of wild. Yeah. So fun. Oh, I have to show you this backing. I almost forgot. This is rice feed sacks or sacking material from a rice company, the Notan brand. And it's uncut. So it's before, it would have been cut and then made into sacks. And my friend found this at a garage sale and gave it to me. sat in her stash for 10 years, and it sat in my stash for at least 15. And then I took it out, and then it wasn't quite wide enough, so I just added the orange border. I love to do really fun labels too, so all of these have really fun labels on them. This is my new book on this topic that really goes more into all of the quilts. There's 21 quilts in here, and there's some kind of how-to in the back as well. And there's some essays in here on the debate about altering an antique, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and I've talked to a bunch of different experts about it. And then I also found, I talked to like 12 different really prominent quilters and collectors about their family quilts. So these are quilts with a real story. And so their stories are in here as well, some of their antique quilts. Heidi Parks and David Owen Hastings and Terry Hancock and Tara Miller. Lots of cool people are in here. So there's those stories as well. And this is, I only have one copy, so it comes out in September. So that's pretty cool. So as Deborah mentions, I'm going to give a lecture on this at festival, at the International Quilt Festival. I'm going to give a lecture on this, and I'm also, I've written 3 books about Japan, and I have traveled many times to Japan. And I have a brand new book that came out last year that I co-authored with a colleague in Japan, Naomi Ichikawa, and it's called Kawaii Applique Quilts from Japan. And it's we feature 6 quilters, and each of their quilts has like 10,000 pieces of applique. Yeah, and tiny applique. So kawaii means tiny or cute or cool, kind of chic, has a lot of different meanings. And so I'll be giving that lecture also at festival. You've seen some of those quilts, so some of them have been in the competition over the years. The door prize. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to mention was you were talking about the mountain mist patterns, and I don't know if you know this, but the Texas Quilt Museum has one of the largest quilt research libraries in the Southwest. And part of the collections that we have is we have a very large mountain mist collection. And when Carrie first joined us, she called Mountain Mist because we were missing a few, and she called him and she was like, well, you know, I was just wondering if you might have these extra patterns because we want to try and complete our collection. And so she told them about what we had, and they told her, your collection is bigger than our collection. So I'm really proud of that. If you haven't had a chance to look at the library here, we've got Teresa's other books in our library, as well as our Mountain Mist collection, and the Cobalt Antique Textile collection is here. You know, I got so excited earlier, I kind of forgot to mention that we were founded by Nancy O'Brien Quintus and Carrie Bresenham, who are also the visionaries behind the International Quilt Festival. So if you've enjoyed yourself in Houston at the International Quilt Festival, it's no wonder you're gonna enjoy yourself here. We're so fortunate to have this little gem here in this community from their vision, and we're so very proud to be the home for the Texas Quilt Museum and be able to host having Teresa here, not once, but twice this year. I'm so excited, because your book comes out in September.
Yes.
And so she'll be doing a book signing here in November, and then if you miss her here, she'll be just a couple days later in Houston at festival. So you'll have a chance to get the book then.
Yes.
Are we ready to do door prizes?
Yes.
Okay, Teresa, I'm gonna let you draw the names.
All
Did
right.
everybody give me their little yellow piece of paper? Okay, so this is for a Texas Quilt Museum ornament. Beth Hudson. Okay. Here, would you mind grabbing that ornament off of that table? Thanks. Okay, and next, this is for a Texas Quilt Museum tote bag. Sandy Smith. Sandy's right there in the back.
Awesome. And the pink on there, to me, reminds me of when you would add fabric to attach it to a quilt frame.
Yeah, could
Because
be.
you would sew it down to the edge and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't big enough to fit on the frame.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Could be. Maybe I should have cut it off.
No, it makes it look pretty.
Yeah. Yes.
Question, time frame when you put these together? I mean, I don't have, I'm not a quilter, so I don't have a vision for, you did this one last year, or 10 years ago.
I started in 2020 when I
Okay.
was sitting on my couch during the
Okay.
pandemic,
So it's
like
been around
everyone,
6 years.
flipping through eBay. And I thought, that looks fun.
But you've done a lot.
Yeah, I have over 30.
Wow.
And my husband is threatening we're gonna have to build another wing to hold the quilts.
But you don't, we're not interested in, you're not interested in quilts that, or have any ideas for quilts that have already been quilted but are falling apart or need to be preserved in some ways, or there's no, or I'm sure the library has some kind of.
The restoration process. No, that's not me, no.
Okay.
It's a big need. I know people are asking all the time, but it's difficult and can be really tedious to repair them. And there are people that do it beautifully. I just don't. That's just not fun for me.
Yeah, I know in one place that I've been, it was a kind of a community quilt that had different, and they just cut it up and put them all in frames. Because it kept it clean.
Yeah.
Preserved their name, whatever, but I'm just curious. Okay.
Yeah, when they're falling apart, sometimes people, I have the story in here actually of Kelly Spell. She's a really modern, well-known modern quilter, and she had a family quilt and it was falling apart, so she just cut up and saved the good parts and framed them for her family. So I think that's, at least it's saved. Yeah. But restoration is hard work.
Well, we're kind of like the last generations that's collecting all of grandmas and aunts and, oh, you're still alive, so come and get them. Some of you identify with that, I can tell.
Yeah.
Or we'll even send them to you.
Yeah.
Send them out of our closet.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there one more?
One more. It's a membership to the Texas Quilt Museum, and that goes to Nancy Brown.
Oh, you already did. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yay.
We'll bring that to the front desk.
I'll just leave y'all with a word about Carrie and Nancy. So,
You're back.
Oh, yikes, uh-oh, it's stuck to your shirt there.
It's yours, the basket.
Wow, good catch. I started reading about the Texas Quilt Museum before it was even open. I remember reading, there was like a little blurb in Texas Monthly, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And I came here right away. And when I started studying quilts and getting more serious, there's not a collection associated with the museum, but Carrie and Nancy have their own personal collections, and they also have a Quilts Inc. collection, which is a corporate collection. And they had some pieces in their collection that I was really interested in, and so I asked to see it, and they graciously set it up for me, and that was 2014, right after the museum opened. And I started getting to know them a little bit and became fascinated with their story, and I wrote the book about them. So it's here in the gift shop. It's called Magic and Memories, 45 Years of Festival, International Quilt Festival, but it's really the story of Carrie and Nancy. And I spent a long time interviewing them over just because of schedules. It took us a couple of years, but I spent we had about 12 or 15 all-day interview sessions, and it was really fascinating here at Carrie's house in LaGrange. And all that's really great stories from, they really changed the business of quilting, and we owe them a great debt of gratitude. So their story is fascinating. Anyone else? Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry. One more question.
Are you working on any of your own art quilts now, or
Yes, I kind of go back and forth. This is the book on Carrie and Nancy, and there they are on the back. So it's a really interesting story. I go back and forth. So I make my own quilts. I actually also make a lot of quilts to give away. I like to make quilts that are fun to use on the couch and give them to my family and friends. So and to me, it's just like a relaxing process to make them and do that. So yes, and I do art quilts as well, and kind of modern quilts, maybe, if you will. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Teresa. And Jimmy, her sweetheart, that is her wonderful sidekick. He's always a part of the action that's happening here. Y'all are welcome to continue looking around the museum. You don't have to hurry off. I know that there was some folks who have some purchases they wanted to make at the register, and those registers are open. Thank you so much for joining us today. Safe travels home, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.